Okay, question one. As usual, as is tradition, it seems that we've got a straight line question, and I think the SQA like to put these together because it tests, almost every aspect of the straight line topic. You've got medians, altitudes, so yeah, you could expect this in your paper unless you think of something else, but this seems to be quite commonplace. So, the first thing I would do is I would just label up a triangle, just to make my life a bit easier. So 13, 3, and -1, -5. Okay, so that's me kind of labelled up, and that's very good. And the broken line is the altitude. So all that means is that's at 90 degrees. Altitudes are at 90 degrees, whereas a median would cut at the midpoint. Okay, so this isn't the midpoint. Midpoint's probably over here. So yeah, the altitude, I might just write that down to remind me, there's the altitude there. A midpoint would be, cutting the line in half. So yeah, bit of an intro there. So show the equation of the altitude from C is this. So that's quite nice. I like when you get the final answer because you think, oh, that's quite handy, I know what I'm aiming for. So let's prove that then. So I would always start with P, G, E. So what's the point that I know? Well, C is 13.3. And what's the gradient I know? Well, I don't actually know the gradient of this, and I don't know this point here, so I can't work out this gradient. But I can work out this gradient, and then from that get the perpendicular gradient. So in that case, I'm going to say I'm doing 7 take away -5 divided by -5 take away -1. So that's the gradient of MEB. So let me just write that just to remind me. Good. So that's going to be 12 divided by -4. So that's a gradient of -3. And that means that the perpendicular gradient is going to be positive 1/3. So I've now got my gradient, I've got my point, time for the equation. So don't be a hero, just label your point up A and B to remind yourself. So y take away b is mx minus a. We'll run this space, I'll see if I can shimmy this over a tiny little bit. There we go. So y take away 3 is 1/3, x take away 13. So that times everything by 3 just to get rid of that thirds. So that's x take away 13. And I'll add 9 to both sides. That'll be -4. And let's see, how's that looking? Yeah. So they've got it with 4 on one side. So, okay, I could bring the 4 over. So it's 3y plus 4 is x. So 4 is equal to x take away 3y. Nice one. So exact same as usual, but in this case they've actually given you the equation, which is quite helpful. You know about PGE viewed in the straight lines. That's a really good one to remember. And just remember taking your time and remembering to flip and change the sign for perpendicular. Find the equation of the median from B. So again, I'll just draw this out. Really take your time with these because the minute you rush, it's when you're going to make a wee mistake. So it doesn't really look like a median, but just assume that's a median. More like a curved line, but the point is it cuts that in half, and that's my line there. Okay, so we'll do this down here, part B. So same again, point, gradient, equation. Now I know 1 point, I know -1, I know B is -1, -5, and I can actually work out this midpoint here by adding together the x's and dividing by 2, and adding together the y's and dividing by 2 as well. So my midpoint is going to be -5 plus 13 divided by 2, and 7 plus 3 divided by 2. So I'll maybe just move these over a little bit. P, G, and E. So let's have a look. So that's going to be, take away 5, that'll be 8 take away divided by 2 is 4. So I'm going to have, 4 and 5. Very nice. And again, you can just double check to see if that makes sense. Like, is the gaps the same? That's a difference of 9. And then I'm adding on another 9, so it looks good. And then from here I'm taking away 2, and then I'm taking away another 2. So again, it looks sensible to me, so I think I've done that right. And your gradient, so 2 points, so just the usual, y2 minus y1. That's it, it's -5. y2 minus y1 divided by x2 x1. So just watch your handwriting, make sure it's better than mine, and that'll give you 10 over 5, which is just 2, and then time for the equation. So y minus b, and I'll take this point here, why not, less negatives and things. So y minus b is equal to x minus a, which is 4. So you've got y, take away 5, get the 5 over, so that's going to be negative 3. Nice one. So, some good marks there, 7 marks, and I think they give you these to try and, just ease you into the paper a little bit. It's almost Nat 5 work, really. There's not many new skills that hire for this. And the last thing is just to rush away. Find the coordinates of the point of intersection. Okay, so the intersection point looks like it's in there somewhere. How do we do that? Well, we just put them equal to each other. So I think I'm going to rearrange this one, because I've got y is equal to 2x take away 3. I'm going to say then that I've got 3y is equal to x take away 4. That's a nice form, isn't it? So what I'll do is I'll times this equation by 3. I could have times this one by 2, doesn't really matter. So I call that equation 1, that's equation 2. I've now got 3 times 1, so I'm going to have 3y is equal to 6x take away 9. And then I'm able just to take them away from each other. So I never multiply by negatives or anything. I just multiply by the number, and then I add and subtract to take them away. Some people would have said I'll times it by -3 and then add them together. That's fine. I prefer to just subtract and add later. So I'll do this equation, take away this equation. So I'm going to get 0 for the y's. 6x take away x, that's going to give me x. And -9 take away -4. So -9 add 4 is -5, which means that x is going to come out as, sorry, that's 5x, which means that 5x is going to come out as 5, so x is equal to, as 1. And if you sub that into the other equation, you should then find also that y, say that 3y is equal to 1. Take away 4, let's sub it in, we'll get 3y is -3. So y is -1. So that's your coordinate for your intersection, 1 and -1. So let's have a little look through our marking scheme just to see. It's usually quite standard. It's almost like for each of these columns you're getting a mark. We'll just double check. So for the first one, you're getting your mark for your -3. You're getting a mark for your third. You're getting a mark for substitution, and then your final kind of rearrange. Very good. The next one, we're getting a mark for our midpoint, 4, 5, mark for the gradient 2, and then the final answer. And 2 marks, yeah, just a mark for x and y for this, pretty much, x and y. So off to a nice start, 9 marks. I don't think there's anything too technical with the straight line topic. So if you're not sure about the straight line topic, have a read. It's marks that you can definitely get. This is some very easy algebra, and you see here it's the exact same process, PGE. Pardon me, all you need to be aware of is, what are your lines? Your altitude's at 90 degrees, so it's the perpendicular gradient. Your median cuts a line in half, so making sure you're using the correct midpoint, and just taking your time with your negatives. It'd be so easy to make a small mistake, but you would get carry-on marks, okay? But just take your time, and you shouldn't need to worry about that. So, nice little question to get us going.